So it's the next day, and we are working on the Batmobile bright and early, and Ben here is working on the Canopy sliders, and I wanted to show you how bad this old bracket was. You got it cut off now, right?
Yep. So
okay.
So this was the old manual clunky bracket.
Is that plumbing technology?
This is plumbing pipes screwed together to just manually slide along the door.
So if you can see, there's a rail inside here, and the whole canopy slides on either side. Yep. And so basically, Ben, we're going to be coming up with a better mechanism for it. Is that right?
Yes, we're going to be attaching machine slides with tabs on their existing bar, so we can turn this canopy into a motorized function instead of a manual push.
Awesome. So we're basically getting rid of the plumbing parts, doing something custom, and we'll kind of jump to that eventually. So keep up the good work. I'm going to show you guys the canopy since you haven't seen it quite yet. It is laying over here, and it's very cool. It gives the Batmobile that iconic look once it's on, and it'll electronically slide back and forth as well. So excited for that. We're putting electric motors and a nice rail in here, and this is the test run. So let's see if it works.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm pretty fresh at the PMF shop, but I'm learning really quickly that so much is going on here. I was just getting pulled in the direction of that GTI, doing some filming on that. We're talking EV Porsche, and it seems like some progress has been made with the Batmobile. Last time, probably the last clip you saw, is us working on the track for the deck lid or the top of the car. Looks like it's on, so let's see if it actuates. Whoa.
So we've still got to deal with the front carriage. That's going away, but...
That's awesome. That's tremendous progress since yesterday when we were just looking at the track itself. Awesome, it works. A little bit of fine tuning, and you said that we're gonna probably switch this out as well.
This is still from the manual operation. So this we still have to address. If you look, it's like an old carriage bearing off of like a clothesline. I don't know, but...
So we've got clothesline technology there, plumbing equipment before to set the track, and it was all manual too. Okay, that's not very Batman of the original owner. Now it's a lot more Batman because it's all electronically actuated.
It'll be remote controlled.
From the outside of the car, you could open it. That's awesome. Kind of got a Batcave aesthetic in here.
Yeah, you can't really see anything out of this
Can't
thing.
see, it's dark, and I can't imagine driving this thing. This is actually the first time that I've sat here. There's no seat, obviously, yet, but this thing's like 25 feet long. You can't see much past the hood.
No, you can't see anything.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm glad that you finished this. It's a good setup, and it's functional, so good job. What's going on, everyone? I'm in a bit of a rush. I just picked up the camera and turned it on because Gary threw up the bat signal, so to speak, that the air ride on the Batmobile is working. So I want to get in there and see him kind of troubleshooting, seeing this thing going up and down. Well, that's something you don't see every day.
No, Batman with air ride?
You don't see a Batmobile every day. You also don't see it actuating on air ride just like that. The air ride in this car is obviously exciting. It's something I want to get into and maybe even get this car in the air, look underneath, and see how Gary got this new system in here, because it did come in with air ride, right? Just an ancient system.
Yep, just an old school system, manual switches for valves, needed something that was actually gonna allow them to, you know, have preset ride heights.
Right, and that's what this controller is and all sorts of good stuff. So we'll get into that. But right now we kind of want to talk wiring. We mentioned the rat's nest of wiring that was in this car, and it's still partially there. Can you kind of explain what's going to happen with that eventually, and what do we got here now?
Yep, so what we've got going on here is Ames PDM. It allows us to wire up all of the additional features that are added to the car through a good sound means. As you can see, the rest of the rat's nest is still there. Unfortunately, due to timing, we weren't able to address all of it. The car will be coming back to us, and pretty much all of those systems will get run through that PDM. Allows the programmability and just a little bit more reliability.
Yeah, more capabilities, and I gotta say, it looks way more Batman to have this than like early 1990s wiring cluster. So that's gonna be a cool end result, and right now it's running basically all the vital systems of the car, right? So the air rides through it.
Yep, air rides through it. The new automated canopy is through it. The lighting controls, the side cameras, any of the accessories we just added to the car are all being run through that actual system.
A couple of things that Gary mentioned, the side cameras, you can kind of see them peeking out right here, so I'm going to show you that. Obviously the air ride we talked about, and then the canopy. I showed you in the last video the track system that these guys created, and then the last thing they worked on is this bit of the track. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the canopy is ready to go on.
The canopy is ready to go on. One of the nice things that we were actually able to do with that aim controller is because the fact that we can dial in how things start and how things like operate motors, we can soft start them, and you'll get to see when we get the canopy on, that way the canopy doesn't just
shoot off.
Exactly.
Although an ejecto-ceto canopy would be kind of cool.
That might be in the works.
Yeah. So, okay, I think eventually in this episode we're going to get the canopy on, and I'm excited about that because it's going to make this look like 100% Batmobile. But let's talk AIM a little bit more, maybe the tech specs on it.
Yep. Well, it's sick of climbing in and out of this thing.
I was gonna say the toughest part of working on this is probably getting in and out of it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm curious more on the AIM system because I know nothing about it. So can you kind of educate me in a technical way, and I'll pretend to know what you're talking about?
So basically, hot in the market nowadays is PDMs, solid state ways of controlling multiple circuitry, basically power distribution for the car. The cool thing about AIMS is that it's actually got logic in it. So we can program the ins and outs to things like duty cycles, soft starts. It's got half bridges that can be combined to full bridges, all that good techie stuff. They have 4 high amp channels, 12 mid amp channels, 12 low amp channels, and 4 half bridge channels. So pretty much this thing is one of the only on the market that has 32 channels of power distribution. It's our favorite thing to use on a lot of the street cars that we build. Between the programmability and the number of channels in it, it just works seamlessly for what we need to do.
Well, I understood about 10% of that. Hopefully you know a little bit more than I do, and now a lot more because Gary explained it all about the AIM unit. But really, in a nutshell, what it is a replacement for the factory fuse box. So it's like a secondary brain. It doesn't replace the ECU, which I originally thought it did. It kind of aids the ECU, and the capabilities are absolutely endless. I mean, he just rattled off about 5 minutes worth of things that this thing can do. And I think that that could be good for maybe another episode when we use these in like an actual race car, not just kind of a show car like this. Because would you say a little bit of the capability is lost on this vehicle because there's so few things that hook into it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just we don't need to use half the features that this thing's capable of. Yeah, there is another car in the shop that we'll do a video on that will go more in depth on the data logging and the data analysis and what this thing can do if you're actually using it in a racing application. But for now, yeah, this is just power distribution on this car.
And speaking of power distribution, it is now distributing power to the AccuAir air ride system, which I showed you in the beginning of this episode. You could see a little bit of what we did on this car right here. That's a new tank.
Yep. Don't mind all the wiring here. We're still wrapping and tucking, but the cool thing about AccuAir as a company, they now have these CVT tanks where, the VT tanks that have the valves integrated into the ends of them. We don't have the external valve block anymore. Cleans up installation, makes it super simple. The brain controller, you can Bluetooth to your phone now. There's a few different companies on the market that make similar items, but AccuAir is one that we've worked with for a long time and we tend to stick with.
All right, so we've got pretty much everything together. We had a little bit of a troubleshooting moment because the canopy wasn't opening how we wanted it to, but that's how it goes sometimes. So we've got that fixed up. It was just a little programming error. But now we can kind of set the scene. Let's say you're walking out of the grocery store, your Batmobile is parked in the parking lot, you've got your key fob ready, and you click it, and the canopy slides open just like that. The one thing they don't really tell you about the Batmobile is this thing is impossible to see out of. I mean, it's huge. I'll measure this. How many feet do you think? Is it like 25? I'm guessing. So it's 1.5 cars, crazy wide, and then you're also stuck in this cockpit that you really can't see out of. So the remedy for that was putting cameras all around the car. So Gary's gonna open up the hatch and show you, but you can see a little camera right there. There's one up front, there's a rear view, and then one on the other side. And there's monitors to see it all. Yeah, how do you feel about driving this down the road now?
I don't know if I want to drive this thing.
Even with all these cameras?
I'm usually good driving about anything in this shop. This might be the first one I'm a little timid on.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But if you're intimidated, at least you have guns that pop out. And actually, I don't know if we've showed this yet, but can we actuate the guns? Now you're just showing off. Yeah, close the hatch and then... All right, I say that's pure badass. 2 guns coming out of the fenders, this working, all of the cameras and screens, and I mean, this is awesome.
We make dreams come true, you know?